The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, fireworks have gone out with a bang in Vancouver.
A fight over coastal fishing rights.
And how much cash can you get for that card? Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Cory Letendre.
And I'm Robin Horner.
Many Vancouverites say they still don't feel safe on public transit, even with a new mask mandate. My co-anchor Robin Horner tells us why.
It happened in a blur. A woman spits on a masked passenger, and she ends up on the ground outside a Vancouver bus. The video was the latest in a series of incidents on public transit over the mask-wearing policy. However, 2 months into the mandate, TransLink is continuing to see a good compliance rate.
We've continued to do spot checks since then, and the numbers have gone up. So we're finding around 95% of passengers are currently wearing it. So it's gone up about 3% system-wide.
These commuters are happy to see it.
Yeah, it makes it possible to go on the train then. I just don't feel safe if everyone's not covered up.
Even with an increase of people wearing masks, some vulnerable riders still feel unsafe. Emma Jackson is immunocompromised. The 20-year-old Vancouverite has to take transit to and from work every day. She says the daily commute is rough.
I do still, even though there is the mandatory mask policy put in place, I do notice that not everybody is wearing masks.
In a survey, 157 of 158 people said masks should be mandatory on transit, and 132 respondents said they'd seen someone without a mask on transit.
It feels like less than 10%.
TransLink says one issue is enforcement, as SkyTrain staff and security have taken an education-first stance to enforcing the rule.
Well, right now we're taking an educational approach to the policy. So our staff are instructed to remind customers about the policy as they see fit, but not to enforce.
Still, immunocompromised riders say everyone has a part to play in keeping us safe.
But when you're on transit or at least in public places, just remember who else is sharing that space with you.
TransLink says it hopes riders feel safe on transit, as this type of violence is something no one wants to see. Robin Horner in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
The Federal Health Authority is recommending that people now wear a 3-layer mask to help protect them the best against COVID-19.
Mental health issues have been on the rise during the pandemic, but suicide rates in BC have continued to drop. Ben Gebauer has the story.
According to a recent coroner's report, suicide rates in BC have dropped by 7% since the start of the pandemic. Experts are observing this change through something called the come-together effect.
It's most typically seen in times where there's a focus on society on doing something together or coming together in a common cause. So the most common in Western society would be around December with holiday season. We actually see suicide rates decrease a little bit.
Dr. Black explains the initial societal response to COVID-19 was responsible for the drop, immediate financial support with a national emphasis on mental health. Unfortunately, this kind of unified reaction usually occurs after a suicide has happened. Black stresses the importance of empathy surrounding the issue. Those with personal experiences with suicide express how the pandemic has been an asset to their mental health.
That it can definitely allow for more time to reflect and evaluate and just have some more space to do things that you actually enjoy rather than being dragged to work.
The consequences of suicide lay heavy on any community. From young children to the elderly, the drop in numbers is a beautiful thing indeed. But as Dr. Black explains, it's not cause for celebration.
I would like to preach some caution though, because suicide rates are not a good barometer of how people are doing generally. Suicide takes about 13 or 12 per 100,000 Canadians per year.
Going forward, it's important to acknowledge these numbers may be temporary. After observing the correlation between societal unity and the dip in suicides, it's clear that this level of support for those struggling needs to become the norm, not just a reaction to tragedy. I'm Ben Gebauer in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Hundreds of people gathered recently in downtown Vancouver in support of the Mi'kmaq Nation. The Nova Scotia Indigenous fishers have been in a battle for weeks over their fishing rights. Reporter Chantel Tanaka was there.
Hundreds gathered outside the Vancouver Art Gallery for a socially distanced support rally for the Mi'kmaq fishers of Nova Scotia.
When our Indigenous relatives are being attacked, when they need for us to stand up for them, then we stand together all across Turtle Island.
Tensions with non-Indigenous fishers started when the Mi'kmaq asserted their treaty right to fish for lobster during the off-season.
The Indigenous colonizer conflict has been 500 years old. This is not going to just go away. Matter of fact, it will probably escalate. There has to be another track, another way of starting to think about how do we handle these kind of conflicts or the conditions that create these conflicts.
The 1999 Marshall Court decision affirmed Indigenous nation rights to fish for a moderate livelihood, and BC bands are tired of the fighting.
And we're here to say no more.
Reuben George from the Tsleil-Waututh Nation says there are similar issues between them and the Mi'kmaq.
And our Mi'kmaq relations have included the lobster, which is the salmon to us here.
UBC's Oceans Institute shared their solidarity for the Mi'kmaq fishers to urge the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to actively protect and preserve affirmed Indigenous fishing rights.
The federal government is not following through on those rulings to work out an amicable way forward and to communicate effectively with other fishers in the industry.
Rally organizers asked everyone in attendance to wear a mask to protect them from COVID-19. And they asked community warriors to stand by in case they needed to de-escalate any disruptions.
Yes.
Chantel Tanaka in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Since the conflict joins us now. What's been happening in Nova Scotia since the conflict started?
Well, the Mi'kmaq Nation was recently granted a temporary injunction that lasts until the 15th of December to prevent any interference from non-Indigenous fishers as they conduct their fishing activity. Back to you.
Thanks, Chantel.
Halloween was the last day to buy, sell, or set off fireworks in Vancouver, but a new ban won't affect some holidays. Maria Diamond explains how.
It's over. Vancouverites can no longer sell or buy fireworks. As of November 1st, fireworks are illegal in Vancouver.
The problem is that after, 13 years of the permitting system, we've definitely seen a decrease in the number of injuries and a decrease in the amount of property damage, but it's not low enough to be acceptable.
The ban was approved by City Council in 2019 after Vancouver's fire rescue services reported up to $500,000 in damage the week of Halloween.
I brought this motion out. I had a hard time convincing the rest of my fellow councillors. None of them thought it was really an issue.
At M&M's Firework Factory, fireworks are a Halloween tradition and often a holiday essential.
If we were allowed it year-round, then of course people would be doing it for Chinese New Year, Persian New Year, New Year's, Christmas, but unfortunately the city only allowed it for the past decade plus for just the October 25th to the 31st time period, just for Halloween.
But for firework fans, it's not all bad news.
For special holidays and celebrations such as New Year's and Canada Day, a certified pyrotechnician would have to be called, and firefighters, police, and neighbors would have to be notified of when and where the fireworks would set off. The fireworks ban won't end all holiday celebrations, but it will make fireworks a ghost from the past. Maria Diamond in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up after the break, veterinarians want people to think twice about pet adoption.
And we meet a woman who's using art to cope with the pandemic. Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. The pandemic has prevented many elderly people from going out for meals, but volunteers at a local senior center have been doing what they can to keep everyone fed. Aidan Doherty has the story.
Since closing down March 13th due to COVID-19, Gardenside Cafe in West Vancouver Senior Activity Center has been delivering meals to at-risk seniors on the North Shore. Jill Lawler is the Senior Services and Community Wellness Manager for West Vancouver and has seen what the meal plan does for at-risk seniors.
They're still alone, they're still isolated, but they're eating, and that nutrition is having a positive impact on their mental health, their overall nutrition, their overall body, their ability to heal, their positive outlook. Some people have shared that they felt like a person. They felt like someone actually cared about them through these meal programs.
Options for meals are abundant, from baked ham to bangers and mash. Lawler says the volunteers who help with the meal service are what makes the program so special to its users.
Whether it's the volunteer or the person who's purchasing their food or picking up their food, they have an opportunity to connect with one another and perhaps form a friendship and a bond that can support one another and create that support network.
Even seniors who have food delivered want to do their part to help the community.
I help them by opening the door and taking my ground level and handing them out. So I sort of do my little bit for them on the ground floor.
The seniors meal program supplies 260 people with 3 meals a week, which are cooked, packaged, and delivered to 9 different buildings on the North Shore. However, the senior centers and their volunteers' hard work does not go unnoticed.
You can feel the giving in them, that they're enjoying doing it. It's really nice.
For BCIT Magazine, in West Vancouver, I'm Aidan Doherty.
Patio service has kept many restaurants afloat during COVID-19, but with winter fast approaching, that may not be the case for long. Justin Park has more.
In an already crippled industry, patio service seemed to be a lifeline for many restaurants during the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's how important that the patio space is. It's like the difference between breaking even and like operating at a loss for a lot of places.
But now, the cold winter months look to pose a different kind of threat.
At the end of the day, I don't foresee my patio being packed in the middle of December.
While patios are a nice bonus during warmer months, a costly winter upgrade may not be a risk Gabe is willing to take.
Is it worthwhile for us at the end of the day? Is it going to benefit us going forward into the next winter and the following winters after that? Or is it something just a one and done, just a COVID scenario?
If customers won't use the patios during winter, the loss will have to be made up elsewhere.
If they can't get people in their patios, they're going to have to really, work on their in-store dining experience, but also their takeout and delivery. You're going to have to put a lot of emphasis on that.
The restaurant business is as cutthroat as any, with razor-thin profits or break-even months that will come.
If you used to eat out once or twice a month, you maybe make it 3 times a month now. It's just looking for a little extra here and there just to help everybody out, not just us, but even the other mom and pops that are just on the brink of that. Are we able to open tomorrow or are we not able to open tomorrow? So.
Justin Park, Burnaby, BCIT Magazine.
Justin joins us now. Experts say this year is going to be a cold one. What does that mean for restaurants?
Well, while 2020 was one of the warmest years on record, a La Nina winter could bring more rain and colder weather to the Pacific Northwest. And ultimately, these restaurant owners may see those winter patio upgrades much less appealing. Back to you.
Thanks, Justin.
A Vancouver woman says she suffered from depression during the lockdown, but by creating art, she's found a way to cope and make a living. Sarah Sarmati gives us a look.
Courtney Sullivan studies at Emily Carr University. The 22-year-old Vancouverite uses art to help with her ongoing depression as well as making a living.
Was always very depressed and not really having the high energy I used to have when I was a kid. I think I just didn't know really how to be happy anymore, and that led to a lot of depressing thoughts and me just not being motivated.
Sullivan is part of Emily Carr's online art forum, which has been a game changer in dealing with her depression.
It's really great. It's basically like a community where you can interchange art, you can do like art trades, and it's really great to see other people creating, and it motivates you to want to make more as well.
Not only has the online forum helped battle with Sullivan's depression, but it also became a lucrative career path.
It just like really helped me to like feel more comfortable in like my skills, and like just made me feel like I was doing something more, and it was great to connect with other artists. And then after I was working on my art more, I was able to turn it into profit, and now I'm doing it for a living, and I'm kind of like living that dream job basically, which is awesome.
According to the BCIT Student Association of Wellness, art and other forms of activities can help people cope with depression and mental health issues.
It's a really great outlet for students to both kind of relieve stress as well as express emotion. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword in that it can help in many ways.
Sullivan currently works as a freelancer selling her work via social media, but plans to soon start her very own online business selling art. For BCIT Magazine in Burnaby, I'm Sarah Sermati.
Pets have provided support to lots of people over the last 8 months, but animal care workers want to remind everyone to think twice before adopting. My co-anchor Cory Letendre meets some pandemic pets.
Meet Harley. Like many other pets, he was adopted during the COVID-19 pandemic. Irving Escobar brought him home to help fill the void brought on by early COVID phases and small social bubbles.
And life stopped. Not being able to go out, not being able to see friends and family. So then it was the perfect time to go out and adopt a dog. And my partner and I don't regret it at all.
Irving says that it's brought back a sense of normalcy in an otherwise weird new world.
It's actually quite nice having someone or something to spend time with when you're by yourself, forcing you to go out, go for walks, try to get back to a normal life.
Come on, Milo.
Tara Sousa is a veterinary technician with the Burquitlam Animal Hospital and has seen the rise in adoptions of new pets up close since the pandemic began.
Every day we're getting all these new puppies and kittens. Like, we've never had this before. I've been here 45 years. We've never had an influx of new patients like this.
While getting animals out of shelters and into homes is a good thing, animal care workers like Tara are worried about a possible influx in pet surrenders.
It is a real concern of ours when we see all these animals coming in that people have got during this crisis, that they won't be able to continue to take care of them and keep them.
Traditionally, in January and February is when we see the most animals given back up to shelters. Now, animal care workers are hoping that as things get back to normal in 2021, they don't see as sharp of an increase in surrenders like they did in adoptions this year. Cory Letendre in Coquitlam for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up after the break, BCIT is allowing students to study on campus once again.
And we find out how the Vancouver Whitecaps are dealing with the pandemic.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hi, I'm Jordan Nelson.
And I'm Lauren Edwards.
And this is your BCIT community calendar for November 5th. Fall season is approaching quickly and things are getting a little bit colder. Be sure to wear a jacket, but don't worry, we have a bunch of great community events you and your family can enjoy.
This Remembrance Day, you can join the South Burnaby community in memoriam in a parade to honor the hundreds of men and women from Burnaby who served in the armed forces. Are you looking for a visual feast for the eyes? Look no further. The Eastside Culture Crawl is bringing in its 24th anniversary in style. You can see painters, sculptors, potters, and more on Vancouver's beautiful waterfront. This year features in-person and online activities. The event runs on weekends from Thursday to Sunday.
What was coming back this year, bringing their expedition of 1 million lights to Langley. You can enjoy larger-than-life illuminated Christmas landscapes, festive musics, and delicious treats. Maybe you can take an Instagram photo as well too. This is Jordan Nelson.
And I'm Lauren Edwards, and this has been your community calendar for BCIT Magazine. Have a great weekend.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. Local businesswomen are finding new ways to connect online as they search for support during the pandemic. Reporter Hannah Garnett checks it out.
Businesswoman Rachel Polonsik owns Didi Buski, a clothing boutique in Langley. The mother-daughter business has changed a lot since first starting in 2008, saying that becoming involved with social media made it a huge impact.
It's just interesting how it's changed so much in the past couple of years, how we're really driven by social media.
Polonsik believes her success has increased since joining a Facebook group called Vancouver Women in Business. It has grown to over 14,000 members since 2011 and spiked since the COVID-19 pandemic struck Vancouver.
Just the fact that you can reach new customers, and it's, there's over 14,000 people in that group, right? So it gives you a much larger reach as opposed to if you're just posting from that page, from your personal page.
Members of the group have the ability to seek advice, network, and promote their business all through the Facebook group by being instantly connected with thousands of fellow businesswomen in Vancouver.
It's very important as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or even a small business owner and an employer to get the word out there. And so this networking opportunity also includes the ability to share your zone of genius, help people find out what makes you stand out in your industry or from your competition. And it's about developing relationships.
Vancouver Women in Business also hold online Zoom events for group members to create friendships and receive support from fellow businesswomen.
I'll come back. Yeah. Okay, see ya. Thank you.
Didi Buski is looking forward to making new connections and customers each and every day. Hannah Garnett in Langley for BCIT Magazine.
COVID safety rules have kept many students at home during the pandemic, but BCIT is welcoming them back with new study areas designed to keep students safe. Reporter Stephen Lowe takes us on a tour.
COVID-19 closed much of BCIT's Burnaby campus, including studying areas like the 24-hour A-Pod. In response, BCIT has opened new study areas for students located at the Student Association Building, NE1, and the library.
This space is a lot nicer, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot brighter.
It makes me more productive, I guess.
Students are greeted by hand sanitizer and informational signage. Tables are spaced apart by 2 meters and are promptly cleaned after each use.
When you're at home, you're just literally by yourself, but when you're in an open space like this, it kind of feels like you're in a productive area rather than somewhere where you can just choose to do what you want to do.
BCIT, along with other post-secondary schools and the province, have created COVID-19 safety guidelines for the institutions to follow.
They have to think about a number of things, what their student needs are, how many students they have on campus at a given time, and then there's the configuration of the specific spaces.
As BC has taught more than 13,000 COVID-19 cases in recent days, there's a worry that areas like these could spread the virus.
Our primary concern is the safety of our campus community and preventing any potential outbreaks of COVID-19 at BCIT. So for example, if someone were to turn up on campus and have symptoms that might be consistent with COVID, we do have documentation for all of our employees that tells them what to do.
With the pandemic not showing any signs of going away, study spaces like these could be the new normal for the foreseeable future.
How did I forget that?
Stephen Lowe in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Pro athletes and coaches around the world have had to adjust during the global pandemic. Sebastian Pereira talked to the Vancouver Whitecaps head coach to find out how they're coping.
Pleased to be joined here today by Vancouver Whitecaps head coach Mark Dos Santos. Mark, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's get straight into it. You had very limited time with your family in the past 5 months. How difficult has it been personally not being able to see them for long spans during the season?
Very, for me, very. I think I realize that I'm a person that needs to get away from the game.
Right there, right there, right there. Hey, hey! Vamos, próxima, próxima!
When you're in season and you're home, you have your trips, you have your games, you have training, but there's always a part of the day where you could disconnect by being with your family. And I miss that a lot.
And how have you stayed in contact with your family while being down in Portland?
We had twice that we were able to go home for 2 days. And those 2 days were, those 4 days and 2 months were very, very good, but it's very little. When you think about it, it's a little bit more than 2 months, and we were only home for 4 or 5 days. So that's been hard, not only on me, on the players that are married and have kids, and players that have girlfriends home, you know, and don't have kids.
De Home, good ball across and tapped into the back post. Ricketts.
Has the fact that you and the entire team not being able to see your families for so long motivate you guys even more to make it to the playoffs?
Yes, we always say, you know, if we are going through all of this, we have to try to make it count.
All right, Mark, thanks so much for joining me here on the BCIT Magazine. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
While some sports have been sidelined during the pandemic, the trading card market is scoring new fans. Reporter Bahul Sharma tells us about some of the hottest cards on the market.
The crunch of opening a pack of trading cards is bringing some crazy profits during the pandemic. Lockdowns around the world have led many collectors to turn to those dusty old binders and take a look at what's stuffed inside. Some cards which were worth hundreds a few months ago have now gone up to thousands. But names which were highly sought after a decade ago are skyrocketing in value once again.
Cards that have done really well during the pandemic are rookie cards of Ovechkin, which normally used to sell for a rookie card of his used to sell for around $200. Today, a nice one sells for $800 or $900 in a matter of months.
The emergence of generational talents like Connor McDavid and Zion Williamson have brought in a whole new generation of collecting when it comes to sports cards, while familiar names like Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr still rise in value day by day. Some store owners are of the mindset that collecting all sorts of cards is fun, but long-term, the real money is in the top-tier players.
I believe what the best thing to buy is rookie cards of generational type players, your top few percent, your Gretzky's, Orrs, McDavid's, Tom Brady, Mike Trout, Michael Jordan. You know, these guys are household names.
As many leagues across the world are shut down, trading cards are the closest thing sports fans can get to a real game. The tragic passing of Kobe Bryant has sprung his card's value into a league of its own. Cards of Kobe, which would have gone for hundreds of dollars, now triple, sometimes even go for 10 times their normal value. So it may not be the time just yet to close the book on collecting trading cards. Bahul Sharma for BCIT Magazine in Langley.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitnews.com.
That was BCIT Magazine. Don't forget to protect others and wear your mask. I'm Robin Horner.
And I'm Cory Letendre. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.